Hello, everybody. C. Ray Brower here with Corinne Andrews from CrossCounty Mortgage, and she's going to go over CALHFA Down Payment Assistance coming up next. But first, I want to remind all of you to like, follow, share, ring the bell, whichever social media you are watching this on. Make sure and do that. It will help raise our rankings and get us out there to lots more people. So we will be coming up next with CALHFA Down Payment Assistance. And we're back. How's Corinne?
Hey there.
So we were talking about how nice this weather is here the last few days, huh?
Yeah.
Man, how much nicer could we have it? I was talking with a pest control guy this morning, and he said, man, this weather is absolutely perfect. Anything above 80 is just a waste of temperature. And I said, I agree, but we can't all afford to live in San Diego.
I know.
So how about you? What's been going on since last month?
Oh, just, moving along. Thinking about putting in a winter vegetable garden this year. I haven't done that before, but let's see. I don't know if you know, my daughter got married, so we've been busy with that. And,
yeah, I remember that. I think the last time you had boxes stacked about this high.
So all that went really well, and just moving and grooving along. Like I was saying, really enjoying the wonderful fall weather that we're getting a little bit early. I'm heading up to Yosemite in a few weeks for an annual hiking trip with a couple of girlfriends, and
right on.
So it's going to be chilly up there though in the mornings. Yikes! I've been watching the temperatures, so. But anyway, that's, just working away,
That's one thing here in California that you can pretty much rely on the weathermen being 90% accurate.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Back in Kansas, you don't even bother looking at your weather thing. You just go out in the morning and decide what it is today. They'll say it's going to be hot and it'll rain, and they'll say it's going to rain, it'll be hot.
I bet is it humid back there?
The last time I was back, it was 70% humidity, 65 to 70% humidity.
Yeah.
So humid. Although the whole time I was there was about a 10, 12 mile an hour breeze. So it turns you into your very own personal air conditioner.
Oh, that's good.
Your evaporative control.
Oh, that's good. Oh, gosh.
So it wasn't terrible.
Yeah. Well, the air has finally gotten better. There's been some kind of fires going up. I don't know if it's at the Oregon border or exactly where it was, but the air is finally getting better too. Yeah. That makes it unpleasant.
Very, very true. Very, very true.
Yeah.
So I got 31st anniversary today.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, 31 years today. Got up this morning, had coffee, and our son called and had to run some emergency painkillers and some Alpos pads. He woke up this morning, could barely get out of bed. So,
oh, geez.
I've been spending my 31st anniversary alone.
Well, are you going to at least go out to dinner or do something?
We decided we was just going to get some really nice steaks and make a really nice 31st anniversary dinner here and drink some champagne and celebrate 31 years of driving each other crazy.
Oh, gosh. Well, I was just thinking, gosh, my anniversary is coming up here too. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, gosh, we will have been married 42 years this year.
43. Wow.
Yeah. 42.
42.
42.
Right on.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I was 12 when I got me. No, I'm kidding. No.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, when I look back on 31 years, I go, wow, where did they all go?
I know. Doesn't seem
They happen
possible.
so quick. Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
I know.
Well, let's get into some real life examples of CALHFA Down Payment Assistance.
Okay. So I will start this by saying this is a really, well, it's a fairly complicated program. It's a state program. You've got lots of rules and little rules and big rules and complications. And so I'm just really sticking to the high level stuff. And then we'll talk about the down payment piece at the end. And most interestingly, a new program they rolled out. I don't even know if it was either earlier this year or late last year, the equity share program. And I've got some comments for you about that. But to jump right in, CALHFA is how we pronounce this. And it's CALHFA, which stands for the California Housing Finance Agency. And this is a department or group that was set up to and designed to help qualified buyers get into homes with a very minimum down payment. And we'll talk more about that. And
so stop you momentarily.
Okay.
So I've been saying it wrong all this time. It's CALHFA.
That's how we say it, CALHFA. We say, everybody I know says CALHFA.
Okay.
It looks like CALHFA, but anyway. So it's just funny. Yeah, everybody knows what CALHFA is. Or not everybody, but that's what it's referred to in the lending business, CALHFA. So
people have never corrected me, so thank you for correcting me.
You can say CALHFA, CALHFA. You can say it anyway. They'll know what it is. But it's a program that I have found. I'm in Alameda County, right out here at the edge of Alameda County in Livermore. And these programs tend to be, I think they scare a lot of listing agents away. If you're in certain markets, more of the outlying markets, the realtors will know more about it. But if you're in San Francisco, you probably don't know about it. You've probably never used it, or you have no idea what it is. That's kind of typical. And there's another reason I bring that up, and we'll get to that at the end. But the standard, just the basic standard rules are you need 3% down in order to get a CALHFA loan. So the CALHFA loan is designed for a first-time home buyer. And a first-time home buyer means you have not owned a home in the last 3 years, or you have not lived with a spouse that has owned a home in the last 3 years. Okay.
So if you got married, you didn't own a home, but she did.
Exactly.
She sold it right before you got married, a year and a half before you got married, you wouldn't qualify.
Right. You'd have to wait out the other person's 3 years. So It's not to say that you could never use it if you owned a home, but the rule when someone says a first-time home buyer, and there's other programs like this where you have to be a first-time home buyer, that just means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. For instance, one of those would be there's a new housing development and they're selling 10% of the houses for below market rate prices. To qualify for that, you cannot have been a homeowner in the last 3 years. So that's kind of a typical requirement.
Right.
Non-occupant co-borrowers or co-signers are not allowed. So you couldn't have mom and dad co-sign with you on this type of loan either, or grandma or whatever it is. The types of properties that can be purchased using these loans are a single family residence, condominiums, townhouses, and manufactured homes. Now, when we talk about manufactured homes, we mean a home that has been, it's a prefab home, was brought in, put on a piece of property, and it is permanently attached to a foundation on that property. They can't be a single wide. They're normally bigger. And then all of those types of homes have a little metal sticker posted somewhere in that house. And that's referred to as the manufactured home advantage sticker / proof. And they can be in a closet, they can be under the kitchen sink, but they are there if they're a truly manufactured home that was set up appropriately.
Yeah, usually the metal tag is attached either at the front corners or the back corners of those manufactured homes. And then, yes, in a closet, typically a kitchen closet, a kitchen cabinet, the master bedroom closet, or where the water heater is the paper tag that has all that same information. Well, it has that information and some more information. It's a whole,
yeah. And so I think when those homes are generally first put up, I think there must be someone who gives you a lesson in, don't take this off the wall. Don't lose that. Make sure you don't touch it. Just leave it alone. But I've had them in various places like that. Just a lot of times under the sink or in a closet. But so far, if they've had that kind of a home, they usually find it. Somebody knows where it's at. And these are basic 30-year term loans, fixed rates. There isn't anything unusual about them. What is interesting, or one of the interesting things about CALHFA, is the income limits are based on the county in which the property you live in or are going to live in. So there is a huge spread of incomes, and I've listed a couple just as an example. In Alameda County, you can make upwards of $292,000 gross income.
Wow.
In San Joaquin, it's $198,000, and in Merced County, it's $165,000. So there's a big spread there.
That's a big spread.
It is. And these limits come out annually. CALHFA posts them. It's easy to find on the website. And it is CALHFA.ca.gov. So it's easy to find all kinds of information on that website. And so CALHFA does not actually underwrite the loan. They don't review that. They just have a standard set of policy and procedures, and the lenders have to make sure they are following what their rules are. So you have income limits, you have credit score requirements, and there's several different programs under the CALHFA rules and what they have to offer. But typically, you have to have a credit score of at least 660 to 680. That's the minimum.
Okay.
Now, and you have to have a credit score. There are some types of loans you can do where you build a credit profile based on you've paid your rent on time, you've paid your phone bill on time, other information like that. CALHFA does not allow for that. You have to have a credit report. You've got to have a score. A lot of these types of programs require a home buyer education, like a below market rate would require home buyer education. And so the home buyer education and counseling is required for at least one of the occupying first-time home buyers. So if we go back to that case that we talked about that had a spouse that had already owned a home, that requirement is waived if somebody has already owned a home in the past. But for first-time home buyers, someone who's not purchased a home before, you do have to go through the education. And they do a lot of these online. You can do them online and take the courses, and you can do them in person. They are readily available. They're easy to find online. Other loans.
But if the spouse, back to the spouse. So the spouse owned a home. You've waited the 3 years. The couple doesn't have to qualify and go to the class.
Correct.
5 years, 10 years. It doesn't matter how long ago, as long as they've owned a home, but not within the last 3 years. Okay.
The guidelines say if you owned a home previously, it is not required. There's no years or time attached to that. CALHFA requires that the buyer of the home whoever's going to pay for it, whether it's the buyer or the seller, they must have a home warranty for 1 year. So these are just kind of the basic requirements for them.
Right.
Now, having said all of that, one of the most important reasons that you would want a CALHFA loan, and there's a couple of them, but mainly because you can apply for down payment assistance through CALHFA. So first off, the down payment is only 3%, but maybe you don't have 3%, or maybe you need help with the closing costs, et cetera, et cetera. There are down payment assistance programs that go along with CALHFA. And again, we're talking the highlights here.
Right.
So there is, you can get 3% from CALHFA and it turns into, basically it's a second mortgage. Okay. There's no payments on it, and there are no payments required on that second mortgage. So it's not free money. There's going to be a loan. It's going to have a little bit of interest, very low interest rate. There's no payments as you go along, and you're not required to pay that back until you sell the home or if you refi the loan. If you get out of the CALHFA loan and turn it into something else.
Back into a conventional or whatever.
Exactly. Maybe, maybe you wanted a VA loan or you qualified for it or some other benefit like that. That's one reason that you would want to have a CALHFA loan. The second one is that you can get some more help with the down payment. And what they do is they charge you a higher rate on the first mortgage, but there is no payment required. There's no repayment required. So the higher interest rate pays for that second mortgage is the easiest way to understand that. And again, there's a lot more technicalities that go in with this. It's just, I think it's a little complex to be carrying on a call like this to go into all the details.
30-minute call.
It really takes a lot more studying for the person who's looking at that. Now, last year, you may have heard of this. CALHFA offered a new program for help with a down payment, and it was called an equity share. Do you remember hearing about this last year?
The dream for all.
Pardon?
The dream for all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, that program rolled out. So what it was is you did not need a down payment because CALHFA was putting up the money for the down payment. And in return for that, you were not required to make a payment on it. But if you sold the house, or when you sold the house, CALHFA now gets a portion of your equity. So let's say, and these are just pretend numbers. Let's say when you sold the house, it was worth $100,000 more than what you paid for it. So You're thinking, great, I'm going to, it's going to pay off the mortgage and I'm going to have this equity of $100,000. Not in this case, because you've got to give a portion of that back to CALHFA. So they're banking on the fact that, your home is going to go up in value. And when you sell it, they will be able to get their investment back and probably some profit built into that so they can continue going on lending to other people.
Sure. Yeah. Because if they're giving you 20%, they're using those hypothetical numbers, you buy it for $500,000, they gave you 20%. So they gave you $100,000.
Exactly.
And then you turn around and sell it for $1 million, they get $200,000. So yeah, they made $100,000.
And they can, put that back into their program.
Right.
So that, so there was a lot of people in line to get that money when that program rolled out. You had to have in contract and, have to have identified a home and had someone pre-approve you and get all the correct paperwork and get it through the loan system, get an underwriter to look at. Then you would be in line for those funds for that equity share program. That money ran out in about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
2 weeks is what it lasted. Now, recently, they are talking again about how much funds they have to do the same type of equity share offering. It's supposed to be coming soon. I don't know. Who knows? But we have been
Coming
told,
soon.
informed, coming
In a
soon.
theater near you.
The sale is coming. There is $200 million earmarked for that program, this equity share. It is not available yet. We believe it's coming soon, but we do not have a date. Does soon mean October? Does soon mean January? Who knows? But it's not, you won't be able to use that money unless you've been qualified for a loan and you have a property, a contract accepted that you can push in so that you can get in line to use that money. So it went very, 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 very quickly. Also, there were no, and I found this this is just my opinion. There were no qualifications that if you had your own money for a down payment, that you couldn't use the CALHFA money. CALHFA, whatever we want to call it. Couldn't use that money. So I don't know if there's going to be any changes to that or not. Because the restriction on it is the income. If whatever county you're going to be living in where the property is located at, what's the income there. So that is where we stand with the program. If you were doing, looking at a CALHFA, it's really for someone who not only has a limited funds for down payment, but you can get some help, with the down payment process and using some other money. That's the beauty of it. And you don't have to have, an 800 credit score. And
Right.
They've upped the income quite a bit in all the counties listed out there. And it's easy, super easy to look at on the website that breaks down all the counties. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So you can use their money even if you have your money.
Yes, there are
or
no
add your
restrictions.
money to their money.
Yes. Yes,
Very
there
nice.
were no restrictions on the last go round. I've not heard that any restrictions are going to be made. That could happen. I don't know. But
It is the government.
Yeah. And I think I would love to see more realtors be more open to these programs. The lenders certainly know how they work. They understand them. But I think people just tend to be scared about what they're not so sure of. But they're great loans for getting people in a house.
Well,
And they'll do lots of different properties.
That's the whole thing right there is don't be afraid to, because you don't know everything about it.
Right.
To have a discussion about how it could work. And then, like you said, this has been a really low level talking about this, and there's a whole bunch of things that need to come into consideration. But if us realtors open the conversation for the lender to have that conversation, no matter what it is, whether it's a dream for all, it's just a regular CALHFA loan.
And I would venture to say that I think the builders are probably very, very, their lenders are very familiar with this. Yeah, I would leave it at that. It's I think they're familiar with it. The lenders are. The lenders' feet are held to the fire about the qualifications. And so if you're a person who wants to use this kind of program, you really want to, get your paperwork together, see if you qualify for it, and then, start shopping and be pre-approved. Make sure it goes all the way through the underwriting process. And the only thing you don't have is an address, but you've got a dollar amount.
Right.
So that's what you need to do with that as well.
That is always makes it so much easier on everybody when it's
Yeah.
completely qualified approval. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Been through underwriting, and all you got to do is stuff an address in and close.
Exactly.
Um, one question. So everybody, of course, is scared of the high interest rate. Oh my God, the high interest rate! And of course, I just wrote a blog post on the interest rate, and we're actually just below the 52-year average of interest for home loans. So, our unicorn years have changed people's mind about what home interest rates should be
Yeah.
and could be.
Yeah.
And if there was a lot of, and there's still some of the 3-2-1 buy down, the 2-1 buy down, could that also apply to a CALHFA loan?
Yes, I believe you can. I believe there are buy down options for that. Yes.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And the seller, that would be something that would be nicely negotiated, with the seller being willing to pay that particular item. But it is allowed. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't had anybody want to pay it themselves. I have
No.
negotiated it in deals, and
Yeah.
I mean, I understand it doesn't make sense to pay it yourself because all you're doing
Right.
is prepaying your interest
Yeah.
anyway. So. But it is a great negotiation tool to get the house sold.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the
You're
house
right.
sold for asking, and
Mhm.
it comes out better for the seller, which a lot of people don't understand that
Right.
that is a closing cost and it is a tax deduction. So
Mhm.
it does actually benefit the seller, even though many people are afraid to ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
No, I think in the right transaction, it would, again, it depends on the transaction, but
right,
um,
yeah,
it can be a great tool for both sides.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean,
Mhm.
it is a great tool for both sides when
Mhm.
applied properly, and everybody understands the whole concept and how it's beneficial to both sides.
Mhm.
Because if it's only beneficial to one side, I've never done a
That's,
deal that's only beneficial to my
yeah.
buyer or to my
Yeah.
seller. Or if it can't be a win-win-win,
Yeah.
it's just not a deal. I mean, that's why I don't double in deals.
Yeah.
That is one thing that is in my career I've double ended 3, I think, and all 3 were either an investor
Huh.
that said yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't care. Or one of them was what I tell everybody, that I don't double in deals unless you have the person that you want the house sold to and you have done all the negotiations, and I'll take care of the paperwork for both of you. But I'm not doing any negotiations. I'm not in the middle of it,
Yeah.
because that double-ended deal is always, when I first got into the business and somebody told me about it, I went, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Well, it's easy. You just can't. I said, but in the end, after it's all closed and everybody walks away with their marbles, the seller lays in bed going, I came down $25,000 and he knew that I could come down 40. And the buyer goes, he knew I could afford that much more and he only brought it down to right where I was. The human mind just has too many what ifs going on in it. And
Yeah.
I have since found out, I mean, back then I didn't realize it, but the double-ended deals is the biggest E&O claim there is.
I have
And
heard
most
that
people
as
don't
well.
realize that.
Yep. Yep. It is the it is the it is the reason for most people to have some type of lawsuit, or they get I forget the group that gets involved with that, but there can be a lot of conflict afterwards. And the way I look at it is, it would be like going to court. You're being sued for something, or you were arrested for some crime, and you're going to be defended by the district attorney. That doesn't work.
That's the first time I heard about it, I went, wow, really? Because you seem like a really nice person, but if you went and murdered somebody, would you want the district attorney, the one prosecuting you,
to
defending you? That don't work. It just don't work.
Yeah. That's how I see it. Yeah.
That's in Kansas. I'm getting brokered in Kansas now. They don't allow double-ended deals.
Yeah, I know there are some states that do not allow for that. Yeah.
And in fact, if the broker has a listing and one of the sales agents has the buyer, the broker has to step back and no longer be the broker and represent the seller. He just becomes the intermediary. More like a mediator.
Yeah.
Has to pass it off to somebody else. The broker cannot represent the seller at all.
Yeah.
Has to break away from it. So makes a lot more sense to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I completely understand where you're coming from. Yep. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. I've always liked the district attorney analogy.
Yeah, exactly.
People get that very quickly.
Very quickly, they do.
Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Corinne, thank you so much. I appreciate you so much coming on. Anybody has any questions about CALHFA, not CALHFA.
It's all right.
It's all the same. We'll get it.
You know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Corinne's information has been scrolling below. Everybody go out and be the sunshine in somebody's rainy day. And remember C-Ray to find your perfect home. We'll see you all again real soon.